What happens if we go into a full-scale trade war?
Look, it's really ugly. This president won the election based on reducing costs, but he's enacted the largest tax increase we've seen in over 50 years. And you know who's going to pay the price? Americans shopping at Walmart, Americans shopping at Costco. We don't know the purpose of these tariffs. The only thing we do know is he's planning on taking tax revenue from Americans paying more at Walmart and Costco and putting that into tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans. It's totally gross, and it's putting us on the brink of a recession. It could cost us tons of manufacturing jobs as we get into this trade war. It's a really disturbing policy. I hope he backs off.
But Kevin, he said there's a lot of deals that they're literally kissing his ass was the phrase he used, very eloquently. Where are the deals?
104% tariffs on China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that
I
look
want
like?
Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. It's just not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well,
I'm
hold
not
on
talking
a
about
second,
tariffs
Kevin.
on
Well,
60.
I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people, the average consumer, not necessarily the head honchos of businesses all across the globe, can they withstand the pressure of that sort of tax on the goods they're going to have?
Short-lived. There will be
But what's your timeline compared to, you don't know the average American's timeline, what they can actually survive. There's people right now who can't survive
400% tomorrow morning, Xi's on an airplane to Washington to cut a deal.
What do you think?
You know, here's the thing, though. This is the perfect example of, I understand how it would benefit you, but that's not what the American people voted for. They voted because Trump said within 24 hours, costs will come down.
Trump supporters, by the way, you're talking about,
Well,
especially.
Trump said that and there were people in the middle who said, okay, I'm going to vote for that. He also said he'd end the wars. That's not happening. We still have supply chain issues. So I just filled up my tank yesterday. Gas prices are not down. Rent, groceries, prices are not down. And when people are looking what's happening in the markets and they see the uncertainty and they see their 401ks, I had to listen to my mom talk about her investments on Sunday and she's nervous. I get it. On top of that, though, don't forget, tomorrow we're going to have a vote on a budget that is going to be also another series of cuts for the American people and a little bit of gamesmanship, as you were saying, so that we can sort of pay for the tax cuts for folks like Kevin. Then we've also got DOGE, and we've got the impact that the DOGE cuts and the cuts in jobs are actually having on economies around the country. So it's when you layer all that together, and I think what you saw over last weekend is people don't want to wait anymore. People are angry. I mean, we saw incredible turnout over the weekend in rallies all across the country. We're seeing it in the polls. People are frustrated.
I want to bring this into real terms as well. I mean, I'm an everyday person, I'm going to tell you that right now. And so when I think about how much things cost, I want to know things I'm going to afford or not afford. Listen to what somebody who's a furniture store owner in Kansas had to say about, say, the price of a sofa.
With the 54%, if we sell a sofa for $1,000, we will have to sell it for $1,299. And if it's 104%, then that sofa will be over $2,000. I don't think they can afford it.
Zolan, that's a real figure for a lot of people. A $2,000 couch as opposed to what they thought they were going to spend?
Yeah, that means higher prices for average Americans. And by the way, that's what Republicans in Congress right now are also worried about here. Hearing from their constituents at town halls and as the weeks go by, if consumer prices go up, that economic frustration then turning into political backlash against them and the administration.
But Kevin's point is that it's short-lived. What's your reaction?
Well, I mean, it's up to debate whether it's actually going to be short-lived at this point. Consumer prices going up. Again, economists say U.S. importers do pay the price of tariffs. That then goes down to the consumer. Also, one thing that is consistent right now is uncertainty. There's uncertainty right now, and this gamble that the administration is doing that the average American will be able to weather through any type of economic frustration is bet on the idea that you'll then have investment in American manufacturing. Tough to pair investment with uncertainty.
So where does consumer confidence factor into all this? If people are nervous about what they can or cannot afford, how about that short-lived proposition?
I mean, it's plummeting. And I think the only way we're going to restore it is if Congress takes back the car keys from the president and takes away his power to impose the largest tax cut in 50 years with a stroke of a pen. That's the only way that people are going to have confidence. If he announces a series of deals tomorrow, what's going to happen in a month from now? Nobody's going to have any confidence that this is going to go away as long as he has, basically the gun on the Resolute desk. American consumers, businesses are all at risk as long as it's there.
Oh, we're talking about, obviously, sofas, but how about iPhones, which many people have? There's this notion of making it in the United States. Talk to me about that, Kevin. What is the likelihood that that could actually happen? There are people who are saying, fat chance.
Moving manufacturing back to the U.S. takes a long time, but I'm still focused on two aspects. I mean, you have to differentiate the tariffs negotiated between countries, because the Eurozone just 48 hours ago said something remarkable. For the first time in decades, we're willing to go to 0 on 0. That means they open up all markets to all products, all services. That's a huge win. So forget about Israel or Thailand or Cambodia. We're talking about one of the largest economies on earth saying, okay, we get the joke. You want to sell cars? You want to sell a Corvette in Berlin? We're okay at 0. We've never had that before. So let's call that a huge win. We haven't done the deal yet, but let's get the German people over here to start negotiating that. Agriculture in Britain will go to 0 on 0. Canada, we'll love to do energy 0 on 0. So that's a huge win for him. Huge. He hasn't even taken advantage of it yet.
I thought, Kevin, part of it, I'm curious from your perspective, and everyone, if one of the biggest assets of a negotiation is leverage, if he has said they're here to stay, does that remove some of the ability for him to negotiate in the long run with these countries?
Well, I'm trying to differentiate between the trade non-parity. For example, you talk about Thailand. I have a company that makes greeting cards. Hewlett-Packard laser cutters making greeting cards in Thailand because labor's cheap, and we FedEx them every day here. They only have an economy of 35 billion, and the deficit is 200 billion. That country will never have trade parity with us. It's too small. But we can go to 0 tariffs with them. And I'm telling you, there's a difference between getting everybody at 0 on 0, which is free trade, basically, which for Trump would be a huge win. That call 48 hours ago, when the Eurozone said, okay, uncle, we'll go to 0, take that win. It's a huge win. Now, getting trade deficits settled, that's going to take decades, because we are the largest economy on earth by a factor of 2.5 times.
What's your thoughts?
We're always going to have deficits.
I also want to zoom out because I do think it's worth noting that there are many in Congress as well as the business community that are questioning if the White House and specifically the president is even ready and in a position to negotiate.
The Home Depot co-founder
mixed-
made a comment on saying something like, I'm quoting here, I don't understand the goddamn formula. I believe he's been poorly advised by his advisors about this trade situation and this formula they're applying. You already see a tension between Musk and Navarro.
That's right. And that's not it. There's been mixed messages from different aides. Some that are saying, that they do want negotiations. The White House said today that 70 governments around that have come to the White House looking to start conversations. At the same time, really, the person who matters the most is Trump and what he wants to do. And there's been plenty of comments of him digging his heels in as well. I wrote a piece weeks ago when the initial tariff threat against Mexico and Canada went out, saying that sometimes the tariffs don't seem to be a means to an end. They seem to be an end for the president as
How do you
well.
see it?
Well, but this is also the difference between running a business and running a country, right? Because the politics of this are, okay, we're going to start negotiating with 70. Start. How long is that going to take? Is that months? Is that the rest of the year? Then we're into the midterm season. And if you're a Republican member of Congress and you are hearing from your constituents who are saying, look, now we're in a recession. Now my prices are even higher than before. Why haven't you stood up to the president? Then they're going to put them in a real bind. And the one thing, the kind of pushback for Trump is he doesn't care because he's not running again. But if he wants to keep his majorities in the House and Senate, his team at least understands you better have a plan. There better be a plan to, are the tariffs a means to an end? Or are they the end game? And what are we going to be saying? And how will we keep our majorities if we want to keep enacting this regime?